All right, we are live. VJ, hello and good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Luke. How are you doing today?
Great, great. It's a day that I have been anticipating for a little while, knocking out and enjoying a lot of conversations. So it's fantastic. Thank you so much for jumping on.
Sure,
I
sure.
know you're a pro. You're out there speaking and doing podcasts. So I feel
Yeah.
really fortunate that you agreed to join me. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I saw your post. I was like, oh, yeah, sure, that'll work.
That's awesome. I'd love to hear what you're working on. What are some things that have your interest and attention right now?
Sure, sure, sure. So I am a strategist. I do career and business strategy for mid-professional careers,
Hmm.
mid-career professionals, sorry. Uh, so basically, a lot of my clients are people who are frustrated. They haven't been promoted in a while. They've trained their replacements, or they're ready to pivot to a new career or start a business.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm just working on. I just put out a new coaching program on the career side, kind of just like putting together all of my smaller programs to make it a bigger, more robust thing, which has been great. And just really getting forward, getting ready for the new year. I think if you, as an entrepreneur, have waited to December to plan for next year, you're kind of behind the curve.
Yeah. Yep.
You're
Exactly.
definitely behind the curve. I mean, I was planning in October. December
Yeah.
is just kind of like, okay, what systems did I not already find and put in place for the new year?
Yeah, that's
You
right.
know,
Yeah, good. Let's jump into something you said a little bit more, which is the mid-career or even somebody who's got a side hustle and
hmm
they're exploring the transition from that side hustle to how do I make this the main thing? Uh,
yes, yes, yes. So you want to create an exit strategy. And one of the first things you want to do for your exit strategy is do a financial assessment, right? You want to look at your current financial situation, see where you are, see what your debt is, see what you can get rid of, um,
mhm,
see how long some smaller stuff can take to get rid of, and then
mhm,
create a financial plan where you're like, okay, I want to save up 6 months of bills and then
mhm.
add 2,000 to that. That
Okay.
2,000 is that cushion for your emergency, right? Because the 6 months bills is fine, but you don't take account if the car breaks down, if
Yeah.
the boiler breaks, the roof
Yep.
collapses, you still need a little cushion in there.
Yeah.
So throw in at least an extra 2,000, and then, if you're married, talk everything out with your spouse so that you're both on that same financial plan so that
Yeah.
you can save the money, get what you need. And in the meantime, there's a lot of things you can still do for business, right? Still grow your brand, still network,
Hmm.
um, work on having more clients or at least putting together a pipeline so
Sure.
that this way your business income is starting to grow and grow more to get closer to your job income.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fairly common for people to get kind of stuck in between those two things where
Yes.
I want to do something, but I'm not quite ready to go all in. So even before somebody has a side hustle, they're ready to exit. How do you help people, or what's some pieces of advice you have for people who want to start that side hustle and
Sure.
sort of balance their time and their day?
So for those people, and I do have a good bit of clients like that.
Yeah.
Most people have an idea of something else that they want. I have
Okay.
clients who come to me and they're like, we're going to talk about their career and stuff, but they're like, it's not my end goal. And I'm like, well, what's your end goal? And they're like, well, I want to have my own business. I'm like, well, tell
Mhm.
me about that. So
Yeah.
basically, depending on what it is, I look at, so what skill set do you already have that you can already get this started? Even if you just start
Mhm.
with building your brand, getting people to recognize you so that when you're ready to launch, you now have a following.
Yes.
That's a small place, simple thing to start with, right? It's like, okay, I want to consult, right? Let's say you want to consult doing something you already do.
Hmm.
Okay, grow out your network. Make sure you're still in contact with other people.
Right.
Start getting some case studies, right? Projects you've
Mhm.
already done, success stories, so that you can use those to say, I have this experience. Here's a case study on it. Start building up your authority. And
Yeah.
you can do that while you're working. And just always make sure whatever you're doing isn't in conflict, especially if you had to sign any DNRs, anything like that for your job. Just make sure you don't have like a huge conflict. Because a lot of people have a business idea that's like totally different from what they do at work, which is
Right.
great.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
easy because then you can just do whatever for your business because it does not relate whatsoever. But when it
Yeah.
relates, you just have to make sure like you're not going to old customers to now poach them from your job,
Yeah.
right? You know, you
Yep.
have to just be careful of stuff like that. But usually, like I walk through that with my clients, like, okay, let's look at some different strategies on how you can get started. So like, I have one client and she actually texted me last night and she's like, I just got my first client. Oh my God, this is happening.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So
I'm
I'm excited for her.
that's yeah, that's awesome. I'm curious about your entrepreneurial journey.
Mhm.
Like when did it happen? How did it happen? What got you into entrepreneurship?
So I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid. I was that kid that sold candy in school.
Yeah.
Back in like sixth grade, me and my friends had a little store. We had like a pop-up table on somebody's grass, and we'd go buy, you know, like bags of chips from Costco and the
Right.
little 50-cent drinks, you know, and then we'd sell stuff. I used to sell blow pops in high school. So for me, entrepreneurship just was like part of who I was.
Yeah.
But I used to want to be a lawyer. And
Okay.
then I was like, yeah, I am so not going to law school. I did end up going to get my MBA.
Yeah.
Um, I let my best friend go to law school because we were like going to be business partners. And this is my fourth business actually. So we owned a summer camp together. So I was like, listen, you go do the law stuff. I'll handle the business stuff because you don't like to number crunch. So she's like,
Mm,
that's fine.
yeah.
But you know, I've worked jobs. I've actually had 4 careers and 4 businesses. 4 is my number. I'm also born in April. Uh, so I have a thing with the number
Yeah.
4.
Yes. Yes.
But 4s always seem to be like the best spot for me, that fourth thing
Mm,
I get into. So with this journey, I was doing recruitment work for a bit
mhm.
because HR was my last career. I've done higher ed, IT, insurance, and HR.
Okay.
And so when I switched into doing this, my exit strategy went out the window because I got laid off. And for a lot of
Oh,
people, sometimes that'll just speed up the process,
that's a
right?
motivator.
That's a motivator, which was a challenge because I hadn't hit my financial goal. So
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, all right, I got to figure this out. I'm just going to do it. And I'm very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm pretty resilient. And like,
Yeah.
I'll be like, let's get creative about how we can find the money. Right. And I learned a long time ago, like nobody's coming to save me. There's no knight, there's no white horse. It's just me. I'm
Mhm.
my own rescue. So
Yeah.
I'm like, what do I need to do? And I'll figure it out and make it happen. So
Mm,
I feel like sometimes people get stuck thinking inside the box. Right.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the movie The Matrix. And there's this one scene in the movie where Neo goes to the Oracle and there's this little boy and he's got this spoon and he's making the spoon
Mm,
bend with his mind. And
yeah.
he tells Neo it's not so much about the spoon, but it's realizing that the spoon doesn't exist. He's like, there is no spoon.
Yeah.
And I'm always telling people there is no spoon because it's just like the box. There is no box. Throw out the box. Once you
Yeah.
throw out this box, you expand your thinking.
Yeah.
And once you expand your thinking, you get to be more creative and figure out how to do what you need to do. So
Wow.
from that, basically, I was just like, okay, when I needed to go find a consultant job, I went and found a consultant job,
Yeah.
right? I was doing recruiting. It wasn't going as well as I had wanted it to. It was just, it wasn't giving me that passion like it did originally.
Yep.
But the career development piece was what I really enjoyed, right?
Yeah.
People were always like, VJ, you know, I got all these questions and I was part of all these organizations and I'd be at, you know, at an event, I might be a speaker or just an attendee and just get recognized for being like a chapter leader or whatever. And
Hmm.
people were like, you've transitioned 4 times. I can't even do it once. Like, how do you do that? Right. So people were always asking me questions. And then I said, you know what? I probably should get paid for this.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So I transitioned into that in like
Yes.
2018. I transitioned and pivoted my business from recruiting to more of the strategy side. And
Yeah.
then 2018 was just like this crazy year. My aunt passed away in January. A week after she died, my mom died suddenly in February. So it was just like a lot going. But I thought about what do I do now?
Hmm.
I was like, my mom was my best friend. She was part of my why. And then I said, you know what? She's still my why. Nothing has changed. I
Yeah.
just won't keep her retired. Right. That was part of
Yeah.
like one of my daily affirmations was I keep my mom retired, you
Yeah.
know, and I used to travel a lot and I brought my mom everywhere with me, you know.
Hmm.
So now I'm like, well, now what? But I figured out, I'm like, she wouldn't want me to just be depressed and not doing anything and giving up. So I was
Yeah.
like, I'm still going to help people because that's what she taught me throughout life. She's always was giving of herself, and I
Yeah.
followed in her footsteps. So it's been a journey. Once I got to that point, 2018, it was just like not much movement in my business. Last
Mm.
year, more movement. This year, I've done 8 times already what I did last year, and I'm
Wow.
still pushing to try to get to 10. Even
That's
it's funny with
good.
my business coach, we were talking about the 10x. So I'm like
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
hit the 10x.
Yeah.
So that's been my journey. Just kind of like picking myself up and keep going. I
Yeah.
mean, I've had a lot of downs, but I mean, I just feel like a phoenix. I just keep rising out the ashes. I've been on
Yeah.
unemployment. I tried public assistance.
Yeah.
They told me I made too much money on unemployment to get public assistance.
Oh, geez.
I got food stamps for 6 weeks, and they gave me like
Mm.
$93 or something like that in food stamps. I got a temp
Yeah.
job making $13.75 an hour. Now I have two
Mm.
bachelors and a master's degree. Okay, so don't think you're
Yeah.
too good for anything. Okay, I was making
Right.
thirteen
Right.
seventy five an hour,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
used to get calls for $11 an hour jobs. And every
Um,
now and then it was like, all right, I'll go work for a week. That'll pay my cell phone while I'm still
yeah.
figuring out things. And this is when I was like, do I just go back to work or do I now pick the next business?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like at some point, it's not always like you also have to know when to leave,
Sure.
and I was like, maybe this just isn't the right time and I should wait a
Right.
few more years, so I was
Yeah.
kind of at those crossroads. So I get this temp job. It was literally 6 minutes from my house. And I was like,
Hmm.
I'll take your 13.75. I come home for lunch breaks. I had an hour for lunch. I'd come home, eat something, watch 2 episodes of that 70s show and go back to work. Right. Like I had that much time.
Yeah.
And I did that. And then they told me I made too much money to keep food stamps.
Yeah. Jeez.
And I live in the state of New York. Well,
Yeah.
when I'm in the country, right now I'm out of the country, but when I'm in the States, I live in New York. You
Yeah. Yeah.
can't live off 13.75 an hour.
No.
Not in the state of New York.
No. No. That's
Not at
insane.
all.
Insane.
Okay. But I made too much money. And
Right.
that's when I discovered I'm my own rescue because I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
you
I
know.
I love it. I'm curious about a couple things. As a consultant, it requires a lot of discipline, requires
Mhm.
intrinsic motivation. You don't have bosses telling you what to do. You've got to be super organized. What are some of the things that you do in your routine to keep things organized and to keep yourself motivated?
I live off my calendar. My calendar is my life. Even
Hmm.
for my clients, like I have a calendar link. Don't ask me if I'm free this day. Just jump on the calendar link and
That's
schedule
right.
yourself.
I love it.
Then,
Yeah.
because then I look on my calendar and go, okay, I have 5 calls today.
Yes.
I know, that's set, and then I do stuff in between the calls if I have
Yeah.
space in between the calls.
Yep.
Um, it is really a lot about organizing yourself. But I mean, from my careers, I used to do analytical work.
Mhm.
I've reorganized whole departments, so that piece for me was fine.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, all right. I think the biggest thing is keeping the discipline because sometimes like you're doing so many things that you forget your discipline at times because you're just
Right.
trying to get everything done. Right.
Hmm.
So you also have to stop and make sure you eat every day. There are times I'm like, wait, what time is it? Did I eat?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Did I eat today? Like, like I have to do that. Or my favorite is when I don't even remember if I went to the bathroom. That one cracks me up
Yeah.
because you're like, you're just running and running and running. At one point, you're like, okay, I gotta go to the bathroom. But then, like, you get distracted, and then you're like, did I ever go to the bath? I don't know if I went. I'm gonna go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because your
Yeah.
day's just going. So
Yeah.
really, it's about that discipline. It's also if you know you're not disciplined, get an accountability partner. That
Oh, I love
helps
it.
a
Yeah.
lot. If you have another entrepreneur or somebody who has an entrepreneurial mindset, that's your
Yeah. Yeah.
accountability partner. Because I have
Yeah.
like three or four of them, right? Three of them right now.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And it's good to, I check in. And I have one friend who she works a corporate job. She makes really good money in her job and she has a business. And I'm
Hmm.
like, what's up with your exit strategy? When are you leaving? And she's like, I don't know. I got to talk to the universe about this one a little more. I said, no,
Yeah.
you don't. I said,
Yeah.
you already know you can exit. The problem is you're living in the comfort of your corporate job
Yeah. Yeah.
because you like the money. And that's the thing. What people don't realize is like, you're still working for somebody else. If you still have to request vacation time, it doesn't matter if you make 300 to 700,000 a
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
You
yeah.
still have to answer to somebody, right? Like you're not
Right.
just going on vacation.
Yeah. So you help people. They're doing their side gig. You help them
Mhm.
separate that so that they can see the vision. They can see their
Yeah.
life living that version of themselves that isn't in an office, the version of themselves
Yes.
that is doing the thing that they really love.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
phenomenal. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
it's
we
not.
talk time management because time management is
Yeah,
huge with that. Like,
yeah,
because, especially when you have a busy job,
yeah,
sometimes you might monopolize, like using your lunch hours more effectively. Like when I was recruiting
yeah,
and
yeah,
I was working, I would pick up job specs for jobs in California or
yeah,
somewhere in the West Coast just because of the time difference.
yeah.
So if I take lunch at like 12:15, I can call people in the West Coast because it's 9 in the morning for them.
I love it. Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah,
I get off of work, you
yeah,
know, even if I decide to call somebody at 8 p.m. because I've had a long day or
yeah,
7 p.m., it's still early over there,
yeah, yep.
so it's like figuring out how can you maximize your time.
Oh, it's good. Really good.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest surprise for you, as you started your own thing
Mm.
and, becoming a consultant and a strategist? What's been the biggest surprise for you?
I don't know if there's been anything that's been a big surprise. I
Hmm.
guess it's just like when people reach out to you and tell you that they follow your content, that they value your content, because people, especially like on LinkedIn, because those people that they never say anything,
Right, right.
so you have no idea. Then all of a sudden I'll get a DM that's like, hey, I've been following you for a couple of months now. I really like your content. I'd like for you to help me. And I'm like, I've never seen you on a live. I've never seen you in my comments. But
Right.
like, so I think sometimes it's just like the impact you make is surprising. I mean, it's a good surprise, but it's
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, that's great. Or somebody will reach out and go, I've seen a couple of your shows. We're looking for a speaker. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh, okay. Like those are good surprises.
yeah, yeah,
But I mean, like I said, it's been an interesting journey. It has its ups, it has its downs. There's still days I'm like, hope I can eat this month,
yeah,
and then things start to get better again.
yeah,
But I think it's just learning how to ride the wave
yeah,
and always improve yourself.
yeah,
And
yeah.
because I think that's where the discipline comes in when you start to do different things. Because you have to shift your whole mindset to be an entrepreneur.
Yes, yes.
So it's like always shifting it and always making sure it doesn't go backwards,
Right, right.
especially when you're tired. Because when you're tired, that's when like all the negative thoughts come in and you're like, maybe I should just
Yeah,
go back and get a job. And,
yeah.
you know, I mean, my side hustle when I was back home was I drove for Amazon. That
Okay.
was my that was my side hustle for 2019. And it helped me like pay off my debt
Yeah,
and get back to a better place while I was figuring out the new rebrand with the business.
yeah, yeah,
So, it gave me a chance. It also helped because, I mean, I was still grieving. So some days, like I remember I think that was December of 2018.
mm,
Yeah, because that's around the time I went full time with delivering. I was coming from, I got consulted someplace and I was leaving and I was just like in tears driving home because I missed my mom,
yeah.
and I have a thing with rainbows. And it was like the sun was setting and it was that pretty pinkish purple color in the sky, when the sun sets. And I looked over and there was this massive double rainbow.
Oh,
And it made me stop crying and smile because I was like, that's my mom and my aunt. And
yeah.
I was like,
Oh,
okay.
oh,
So,
yeah,
so like it helped. But when I had rough days, I'm just in my car by myself delivering stuff. I didn't
yeah,
have coworkers like, oh my God, are you okay? What's wrong? And like, it made it easier for me to grieve at the same time, to figure out what I needed to do. So sometimes you just have to figure out what works right for you.
yeah. Oh, I love it. You're you're such a just like an inspirational entrepreneur. Like you've been through it,
Thank
you
you.
understand it, you've got the right mindset, the right outlook. I love it. I think you're terrific. I'm so glad that you joined me today.
Yes,
I'd
yes.
like to give you the floor and talk about tips you have,
Sure.
lessons learned, and anything you want to make sure gets out there. I'll leave it to you.
Okay, well, lessons learned. Definitely have that entrepreneurial support system.
Yeah.
Definitely keep your energy up, whether you're introvert or extrovert, a double vert, I don't care. Whatever you need to recharge your energy, because you cannot serve from an empty cup. And I noticed for
Mm.
me, like my cup was draining. So this whole last week, I've been listening to Bob Proctor, Lisa Nichols, Les Brown.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me as inspirational. I'm an extrovert, so I need that. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like reading books again, and
Good.
sometimes, like I said, you're so caught up in doing that, that stuff starts to fall off. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, that can't fall off, because when that falls off, I feel it. I get weaker, and I don't feel like I'm making the impact I should be making. So once I shift
Yeah.
everything, it's just always being aware of that shift in yourself. So when you
Mm.
feel yourself going down, do what you need to get back up. If you
Yeah.
need to just take a weekend off and Netflix and chill, then take the
Yep.
weekend off and Netflix and chill. Right.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I watch Netflix daily, but like it watches me because I just like the background noise. I live by myself. So it's just
Yeah.
background noise. I alternate
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
music and some random show. Right. I'm never
Yeah.
watching anything new. It's always
Right.
something I've seen before, so I don't have to pay attention. And it
Yeah.
just plays in the background. So I'm
Yep.
always watching at least 3 shows, and there's always something with at least 5 to 12 seasons on it,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it can just play.
Yeah.
Um, but that's how you stay resilient. You have to know
Mhm.
how to pick yourself back up. You have to
Yeah.
be your biggest cheerleader, and you have to believe in yourself. And now, this point, I'm going to say it might step on some toes, but deal with it. A
Yeah.
lot of people are religious, but don't have faith. And let me
Mhm.
explain this. You go to church every Sunday, you're in Bible school on Wednesdays, you're at the synagogue, you're at the temple, whatever it is. You believe so much in a higher power, which is great. You should, but you have
Mhm.
no faith in yourself.
Oh, wow.
How
Yeah.
does that work? I don't
Yeah.
get that part. You come from the Most High. You
Yeah.
know how spiritual that is. You know what that feels like. So how is it every day you're like, oh, but I can't do that.
Right.
I don't
Right.
have the faith. Like, I don't get that. You have faith in
Yeah.
something you can't see. So how
Yeah.
can you not have that faith in yourself? And
Yeah.
especially when, like, the Bible is full of faith stories. It's
Right.
full. Like,
Yeah.
name a book in the Bible that doesn't have like a faith story,
Yeah.
right? So
Exactly.
make sure you
Exactly.
maintain that faith in yourself,
Yeah.
and that is important. And don't focus in on who doesn't support you. I think that's another flaw we have. It's like, oh, but my family doesn't support me.
Yeah.
Newsflash: if you are doing something your family doesn't need, does not want, or does not understand, they can't support you the way you want them to. You want them to buy all your stuff.
Hmm.
They can't do that. Like, people will tag me in groups on Facebook, and it's like a mom group. I don't have children. Why would you tag me in your mom group?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not relevant to me
Right.
at all. Now, if you message me and say, hey, cousin, could you like share this with your mom friends? Because all my other friends have kids, that's different, right?
Yeah.
The support can be liking your posts,
Mhm.
sharing your information, giving you a referral. It doesn't always mean buying from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love it.
So I think that's one thing I would definitely tell people, like, don't focus in on who doesn't support you, because there are strangers out there on the internet that will support you harder than the people you live with.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. So much value.
Okay.
I really appreciate it. So much value. Thank you again for stopping by.
Yeah,
This has been a
sure.
real pleasure. I'm sure we'll chat again in the near future. I'm a really
Definitely,
big
definitely.
fan of you, your content. I love it
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
for.
Yes, I'm glad I saw your post on LinkedIn. Yeah, if anybody wants to find me on LinkedIn, it's VJ Niles. Best way to find
Yeah.
me.
Awesome. I'll get it all linked up. Everybody will find you. And you've got some content coming out that you want to make sure you share with people, right? So I'll have that content
Yes,
linked too. Yeah, yeah.
yes. I'm going to be sending out a free checklist on how to create an exit strategy.
Love
So,
it.
and then I'm probably going to follow it up with a more in-depth toolkit. But the checklist will be free. The toolkit will have a cost. It won't be expensive, but there will be a cost with the toolkit.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so
All
much.
right.